Notes and minutes here, so we just identify who's doing what motion and second there.
Call to order the meeting of the Joint Review Board of the City of Fitchburg on August 31st, 2023 at 5 p.m. at City Hall in the Jeannie Sealing Meeting Room. And at this time, I would ask our clerk, City Economic Development Director Mike Zimmerman, to take roll.
Adam Gallagher.
Present.
Lori Grigg.
Here.
Bob Solner.
Here.
Andy Whalen.
Here.
Pete Grinder, or Chad Wisey from Verona Schools. And Michael Zimmerman here. We have a quorum.
And the chair is here.
And Sean, yes, Sean Tapp here. So,
Mr. Clerk, we do have a quorum.
Just a point of clarification. Maya Pearson, Board of Education member for Madison School District, is actually the voting member for the Joint Review Board. She is in attendance.
And Maya, thank you. If you want to introduce yourself real briefly, that'd be great.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Pearson. I am the Vice President of the Madison Board of Education.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Fitchburg virtually. So at this time, item number 2, approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. Mike, would you like them in a separate motion or all together is fine with you?
all together I think is fine.
Okay. Folks have the minutes that we presented to them in the packet that was distributed by Ellers. County Clerk Gallagher, motion?
Yep, I'll motion.
Motion approved, seconded by, thank you, Lori, for the second. Appreciate it. Brief discussion on the minutes, 2 sets of minutes from July 18th, the organizational minutes, and August 10th, 2022 annual meeting review minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. The ayes have it, motion carries. Pete, you want to just welcome yourself to the group here? We'll get you in the roll.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pete Grinder. I'm with the Verona School District. And if you're wondering who that person was who called in about 5 minutes ago, I was trying to connect from my phone while I was coming from a Jill Biden visit, and it was kind of crowded, and I got a little bit behind a motorcade and such. So sorry for being late, and I couldn't figure out how to turn off Zoom on my phone call. So apologies for that.
All good, all good. Scott from
Mute on my phone call.
IT's bark is worse than his bite, so he's a good guy. So anyway, thank you for all 3 school districts, which make Fitchburg such a unique community, for joining us. We really appreciate it. All right, now we're moving on to item 3A, review of the documents. Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then you'll have our guests walk through things here. So
Sure. I just wanted to let the Joint Review Board know that we received the affidavit for the notice of the public hearing for the meeting tonight, and have the various project plans available physically and on our website electronically as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Greg Johnson from Ellers, our financial advisor, to kind of lead us through the rest of the documents.
Mr. Johnson, hold on a second. So Mike, we're going to do 3A, and then he'll let us know when we go to 4, and we're voting on 4, 5, and 6, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Greg, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So you all received copies of the official public record for the TID actions that are on the agenda this evening. It is the amendment of TID District number 10, the creation of TID District number 16, both of which are in the Madison School District, and then the creation of TID 17, which is in the Verona Area School District. You received copies of the resolutions that were approved by the Plan Commission and approved by the Common Council. All of the TID actions were approved by both bodies, so we're coming back for final consideration to this board this evening.
Was that vote a unanimous vote on each body?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
There have been no material changes to the project plans to what was presented at the initial Joint Review Board meeting. I can give a quick recap of each of the TIP districts, and then I'll just take direction from all of you if you want me to go back through more detail or not. But we'll kind of start with a very quick recap, and then I'll be happy to address other items or go into more detail if you want me to go through that again, similar to what we did at the first meeting. So just to recap each of the TID actions, if I can get my computer to cooperate. So in terms of TID district number 10, again, this is an amendment. We're both adding territory to the district and increasing the eligible project costs within the district as well. Portions of this district was previously in the town of Madison and has since been brought into the city of Fitchburg. This really focuses on the North Fitch Hatchery Road area, which has been part of previous visioning and planning efforts of the city. It's anticipated those planning efforts will continue to be updated to try to focus on some targeted redevelopment opportunities within TID District number 10. TID District number 16, also in the Madison School District, encompasses the Rimrock area and portions of the Southdale neighborhood, both of which have been part of previous neighborhood plans completed by the city. Those planning efforts are expected to continue as well. Portions of the territory that's been identified in this district was also previously in the town of Madison, but has now been brought into the corporate limits of the city of Fitchburg. TID District number 17 in the Verona School District. The western edge of that district is commonly referred to as the Anton Drive area, also part of past neighborhood planning efforts. And then the eastern edge of that district is commonly referred to as the Arrowhead area, also part of neighborhood planning and ongoing planning efforts of the city. Some common elements to all three of the project plans. All of them identify various public infrastructure improvements and also provide allowances for developer incentives to help incentivize development. The city is required to enter into a development agreement anytime incentives are offered for a particular development project that gets approved by the Common Council. Also include allowances for just the ongoing costs of the city TID audit, TID reporting, and legal review. Per the city's policies and practices, any development incentive that is requested requires the developer to provide a deposit that pays for a developer pro forma review to kind of do an independent review of the developer's financing to make sure that the TIF assistance is addressing a financial gap and meeting the but-for requirement and the appropriate level of TIF assistance is being provided for the project. Most of the city's development agreements use what's called a pay-as-you-go approach, meaning the developer is reimbursed from increment generated directly from their project. If their project does not generate a sufficient increment, the city is not required to make up that shortfall. So all three project plans have those similar types of elements and project costs identified. Just briefly to recap kind of where these TID districts are located. So Tax Increment District number 10, we kind of show the map of the original TID area in dark blue, the first amended area in light blue, and then all of the territory in red is what is being added to this particular district. This is a rehabilitation district, so it has a maximum life of 27 years. And again, the primary purpose is to pay for infrastructure improvements and development incentives as determined by the city to facilitate development and redevelopment opportunities. The financial analysis that we included in the project plan just identified existing projects that are presently under construction and underway over the next couple of years. The estimated tax increment over the life of the district is estimated at approximately $49 million. The cash flow model included in the project plan showed that the projected closure of the district is in year 2042. That's taking into account existing obligations of the district and some forecasting for additional incentives and infrastructure investment within that particular district.
Should we stop there and vote on 10 first? Or
But we could just maybe see if there's any questions.
Sure. Let's just stop on 10 here. Item 4 on the agenda. Sorry to cut you off, Craig.
That's okay.
But let's stop on 4 here. Could you go back to the map, Greg? Mike, just for the audience here, especially School Board Member Pearson and from Madison School specifically, what are some landmarks that are in that area what we're trying to do here?
Well, we've got the Beltline and Greenway Cross. There we've added territory west of Fish Hatchery Road along Bryant Road. And Bryant Road is in desperate need of a reconstruction of that.
And that's east or west of Fish Hatchery?
That's west of Fish Hatchery Road. And then on the east side, you can see the red territory there. That's some of the Avalon senior living property that's there, and then it abuts east to Index Road for it. So we just opened up, I think it's a lot 31 there, the blue one, along Oshala Drive. Oshala Springs, a mixed-use building, just took occupancy in July of this year. And then just north of that, in the red parcel there abutting Index Road is where there's a market rate housing project going up right now. And if the TID is successful and supported tonight, we might pilot an affordable housing program where we would incorporate 10% of the units would be at 60% of median income in a market rate building. And we're working with Ellers on the programmatic parameters right now, and the developer is open to maybe being a pilot project for us as a way to incorporate more affordable units. And if that model works for us, we hope to replicate that elsewhere around the city.
These are all on bus lines and all that stuff.
Well, and the other exciting thing is this is all day, every day transit running down the Fish Hatchery Road corridor, but we've also now gotten word that we are going to be part of the bus rapid transit system. And that will run from Fitchburg, Greenway Cross down to McKee Road, approximately there. And that's why we have some of the infrastructure costs related to the platform to serve that system in this updated project plan and project costs. So there'll be 4 stations as you come from Greenway Cross down to PD.
One more question that I have, and then I'll turn over to the group. Mike, there's obviously the area that's in between the 2 spots. Is that the old Bowman Dairy area, or that's not in the TID?
That's the Valley View Apartments.
Oh, yes.
They're immediately abutting Fish Hatchery Road, and then to the east of Valley View, those are the View Apartments. They're along Post Road and Index Road. See where that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we left that out at this point in time. Where the old Bowman Dairy is, that's the southeast corner where the main acreage is colored there in light blue of Fish Hatchery and Post Road. It extends down in that area.
Any questions from the audience?
I think Maya has her hand.
Maya, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I do have where I was directed to vote a certain way tonight. However, I just wanted to ask the question of what are we doing to ensure that this area, because right now, if you look on the west side of Fish Hatchery in the blue, that area is residentials with a majority of folks who are families.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, it's telling me to lower my hand. And so what are we doing to ensure that families will stay there? And I know that you just mentioned that on the east side of Fish Hatchery, over where the Avalon apartments are, that now that new market rate building, and they're building a new one now. How are we ensuring that that area is also inviting to families? Because I do know that with some of the development in Madison and some of the development that has been happening in Fitchburg have been geared towards more 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom housing, and not so much as family provided housing. So just that's like my question, especially if we're thinking about our population and a change of population and who's going to be enrolled in our schools.
I think that's a great question. As a former mayor who focused on this, Maya, I'm going to take a first crack at this, and I'll turn over to the guy that actually knows what he's going to talk about. But what you see there, we did a survey probably 8 years ago or so in that area, and what we found is, to what your point is, a lot of families that have been there for a while, and there's probably, at the time, there's about 3,000 folks that lived up there. Many of them lived for more than 3 to 5 to 7 years. So there was deep roots in that area. It wasn't a transient neighborhood. One of the unique things about Fitchburg, and Mike can give you more of an update real time, but as I recall, we are one of the few communities close to Madison that have your 2 and 3 bedroom apartments that are still somewhat affordable. There was an example that came to me one time where a single mom had 3 kids, two sons and a daughter. And the daughter, had her own room, which was nice. She didn't have to share a room with her brothers. She had her own place because she had a 3-bedroom place. So we still have that here in Fitchburg, and I think that's, so the population tends to be there longer than a transient population, and also 2 and 3 bedroom apartments close to the belt line along the bus route is something that we've always prided ourselves in, and working to not gentrify, if you will, but to improve the neighborhood while having the existing amenities that that have kept families there for years. Mike?
And I would just add a couple of things, Maya, to answer your question. On the west side of the road, we had a really successful project some years back called the Maple Lawn Apartments back there, where that was a Section 42 tax credit deal where we worked with them to make sure that they worked with the existing families, and families weren't displaced as they worked on a complete renovation of those units, including putting in a fire safety sprinkler system there. And as we talk to developers, we've been talking about kind of having at least a certain number of units that kind of are like on the 2 and 3 bedroom, and specifically to meet the needs of families. And I think that's part of our discussion with that potential program, to look at 10% of the units at 60% of median income as far as our affordable within market rate, to see if we can hopefully bring some of those units online, working with our private developers up there. There are also some other projects. One is north of the View Apartments, where the developer was looking at doing some townhome units. That project hasn't come forward with a formal proposal yet. They're still in the conceptualizing phase of it. And then the other one to keep an eye on is directly across from the Highline Senior Apartments at the corner of Traceway Drive and Fish Hatchery Road. Plesco has a proposal for a project there that not only would have traditional kind of garden style apartments, but what we were really excited about was they were gonna have townhome units kind of rim that project going down Traceway Drive to kind of give us a streetscape, and those were gonna be townhome units. The only thing on that one, Maya, is right now, because of some of the changes in economics here with the construction costs and the interest rate environment, that project is kind of in a holding pattern right now. But we're still hoping that that eventually comes forward, and if that comes forward, that would be immediately adjacent to our hub project that we're investing in that neighborhood as well, so some recreation amenities. So we're striving for those types of things. You know, we're conscious of it and everything, and we're trying to have those kind of conversations with developers.
And Mike, is it safe to say, Mike, I just want to jump in here, the developer has shown an interest in this pilot project, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we're working hand in hand with them to see if that works.
And that does make the TID square up as well, from your analysis.
Correct.
Great, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Maya, any other questions at all?
No, I don't have any other questions per se. I say a comment on this area, definitely heavy feeds into one of our elementary schools. And so, you know, I think it is really important as we are looking as you guys are looking in redeveloping this area, ensuring like there are some type of resources. I know that I live in South Madison, so I live right off of Park Street, so I live right in this area somewhat. And so for me, it's always, you know, what kind of resources are there as far as like childcare, grocery stores, and other kind of areas that kind of feed into that to make that more of a holistic view, since we do have one of our largest elementary schools right in the area. I mean, it's not in Fitchburg, but it feeds all those students that live in that area and serves those families. So that was my only comment after that question. So thank you.
Great comment, thank you. We appreciate that. Leopold is an important part of Fitchburg. Go ahead.
I just want to mention one other thing is that with the TID for housing dollars, with the increment that we've got $8 million in the bank with TID for housing, with the closures of TID 6, 4, and the former Southdale one. One program that we're focused on with our existing multifamily rental housing stock is called the Efficiency Navigator program, to look at some of those smaller mom and pop older multifamily units, of doing some energy efficiency upgrades and things like that. So we're going to be working with Sustain Dane and Elevate Wisconsin hopefully they're gonna do some audits for us on some properties, and then we will hopefully utilize some of those dollars, subject to council approval, to do some upgrades from an efficiency, energy, and standpoint.
Any
And
other,
those would fit in which TIDs, are you saying?
That we
From
can go
those programs?
citywide, we can go citywide on, because it's not specific to
Okay.
a district. It was, we did the extra year for the TID for housing per state statute. And so with those dollars that we have in the bank right now, we can dedicate some of those resources for that type of program, subject to council approval.
Okay, got it, thank you.
any other questions at all? Lori from the Tech College or Adam from the county? Mike, can you clarify for me before we get a motion from the county clerk here? Just the Madison schools votes on this one, right? Verona and Oregon do not. Right. Not that I don't love those guys, but they don't vote on this project. Mr. Clerk, do you mind making a motion?
I'll do the motion.
Motion to approve TID number 10. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Lori from the Tech College seconds. Discussion? I just have a brief discussion here. I think this is something that Fitchburg has focused on for years as an entry to the city. Very few times do communities get a chance to do redevelopment and do it where everybody's involved, all walks of life, and all folks, to the point of that school board Maya had mentioned. And so this is something we've worked on for a while. So with that, I'd ask all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All those we do, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, Greg, item 5.
So next is Tax Increment District number 16. We've included the map up here to kind of orient kind of the boundary of that district, shown in the parcels highlighted in green. In the project plan, there were specific infrastructure projects identified through this district to kind of help promote development and redevelopment kind of within the neighborhood planning areas that have been identified within this particular TIF district. In terms of the financial analysis that we included in the project plan, the valuation illustration kind of shows the full build-out potential of the district, just based off of potential uses, based on discussions that the city has had with some of its private sector partners within the proposed boundary. So the full build-out could achieve as much as $94 million of value. The estimated tax increment, if that value is achieved, is $39 million over the life of the district. The cash flow model illustrates that the projected closure of the district would be in 2043. So typically, as the city has done with its existing districts, kind of the key to successful financial management of a new TID district is to match the pace of investment with the pace of development. So typically, when the city offers incentives, it's when projects have been committed and approved and are generating increment to support those incentives, or when the city chooses to make investments in public infrastructure. It always looks to make sure that there's anticipated incremental value from developments that have been approved that can support that project investment. So Mike, I don't know if you have anything you want to add on some of the key objectives, but that's the high-level summary.
Anything, Mr. Chair?
I just want to see the map.
Okay.
Show the map so people
Sure.
know where we're at. Mike, maybe you can walk through the map, would you?
Sure, yeah. What we tried to do here was we included a lot of the vacant land that's still available within the Novation campus. So those are really the lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and then kind of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And the
So
development.
orient where we are, we're Beltline
Oh,
and Rimrock.
Yeah, south of the Beltline and west of Rimrock Road, and then Highway 14 on the west side of the boundary there. And it's the Rimrock Road, kind of Southdale neighborhood.
Where is Zimbrick's place that we inherited?
They're just to the north up there, north of the green.
Yeah, but not in this
there.
TID.
But not in the TID, no. They were part of the original town TID that was developed during the town of Madison that we worked on collectively with that. So the vacant parcels that I just mentioned, those are still predominantly owned by the Alexander Company. And so we want to work with them, and the development assumptions for those parcels were provided to us from the Alexander Company. And there's some potential projects that are percolating out there. Rutabaga relocated just with this year with a brand new building north of the pond. There's potential for a mixed-use project to the west of Rutabaga on Lot 19. That would maybe have some other commercial use and then maybe some workforce housing that would be included in that spot. And then south of the pond, there's an opportunity on lots 20 and 21 for maybe a commercial recreation type use, and then maybe some additional multifamily housing on
Is
lot
Briar
21.
Patch in one of those areas?
That's further to the south there.
Okay.
At Novation Parkway and Rimrock Road. And then as part of our earlier conversation on townhome units on lot 26 and 26 there along Maloney Drive, we've had a development entity approaching us about doing possibly some townhome ownership units at that site. So we're in conversations with them about that particular product. And then as we meander to the west over there, we tried to get to the frontage road where we have a lot of self-storage units and especially some of the older self-storage product there that we're hoping maybe by having the TID in place, maybe it encourages the property owner to maybe look at other opportunities there. And then that wraps around to the north along the Beltline frontage road with some of those older buildings. One in particular was the old Genesis incubator.
No.
When the town annexation agreement was first signed, that property went immediately to the city of Madison because there was some CDBG money in there for it to operate as an incubator. So it just gives us an opportunity to work with the property owner if they're inclined to want to look at some investments or redevelopment.
Hey Maya, just an FYI, this is the part of Fitchburg that's actually La Follette High School. Most of this is west, so this is La Follette, which is interesting for this neighborhood here. Any questions at all from the school district? Any questions at all? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is also what will feed into the new elementary we just built, and then also possibly Badger Rock if kids go there. I guess for me, are you guys looking more so into doing more of the commercial spaces in this area?
I think we'd like to, and two of the uses you mentioned on North Fish Hatchery Road are uses we would ideally like to see in this neighborhood if we can find some end users and operators, specifically daycare and childcare, and then also some type of grocery or other food opportunities here. So those are things that are on our radar screen that we'd like to kind of get the word out into the marketplace to see if we can help drive some projects over here. And then we're also looking at maybe some major employment. You've got the industrial flex buildings just to the north of lots 1 and 2 there, and Exact Sciences has their lab processing, one of their lab processing facilities there. So we see potential for some additional expansion of that type of square footage and use that maybe that creates other employment opportunities for residents that are living in the neighborhood as well.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. I know. Is the Deer Valley Road, is that considered Fitchburg? I know around this area the border is really wonky.
Yeah.
In this area.
Yeah, this is all Fitchburg now. So everything west of Rimrock Road, south of the Beltline, in kind of this triangular corridor is now previously town of Madison, now all city of Fitchburg. And one of the project cost items that's identified in the project plan is an extension of that Latitude 43 street there to the west that would connect to Deer Valley to provide some better connectivity to kind of open up that neighborhood. One of the hurdles we got to clear there is a utility lines and utility relocation that needs to happen in order for us to do that. So we've got to work with our utility partners, but that would be a healthy thing from just a neighborhood integration and coordination standpoint if we could open that up. One other thing I'll mention that's in the project plan is some dollars to do a neighborhood plan update. We have the Southdale neighborhood plan that we worked on jointly with the town of Madison when the annexation agreement happened. We would like to do an update to that neighborhood plan because it's been a while. So to kind of look at new market forces and analysis. And then the other thing that we'd like to do is kind of do some communication and outreach with the multifamily property owners that are located within this geographic area, and kind of some resident stakeholder outreach too, as we do an update and a refresh of that neighborhood plan.
Okay, yeah, I know that there's a lot of homeowners in this area, and I know that a lot of the apartment buildings that are to the east of Rimrock over here turned into condos and such. So yeah, I've always been wondering what was going to happen in that 1, 2, 3, 4, like in that kind of area by Latitude Drive or Latitude Street. So it's good to hear that there are some opportunities there. So thank you. That's all.
Mike, can you just, for the group, I know our city manager's here as well, but overall, not to digress here, but the city's done extensive outreach over the past years since we took it over on Halloween of October 31st of 2022. The city's reached out to that neighborhood quite a bit, right? Just a few moments on that, would you?
For a year in advance, we had a work team led by City Administrator Chad Brecklin across all departments, doing outreach communication with the residents and with the property owners, not only residential, but the business owners over there, in anticipation of that October 31st date when they officially became part of Fitchburg.
So the existing neighborhood has had access to the city, so us going into the TID this is the first time we're going in there to work with the neighborhood.
No, and as part of the rehabilitation TID process here, all of the parcels identified here would have gotten letters too, that they're in the proposed TID district, as well. So there's been a lot of communication and outreach, and just because the annexation has happened, doesn't mean our communication outreach to the residents and the businesses in that area, that continues to this day, and we're looking to engage even more, even with some park facility planning outside of the TID district, here.
And what was about 2,500 residents we inherited?
I think so.
1,400 residents?
Just 1,400, okay. And then about 110 businesses, right around there, yeah.
Lori, any questions from the Tech College? Hearing none. Adam, any questions for you?
All good.
Motion, if you don't mind, sir.
Motion, is it approval or? Yeah,
Approval.
Yes, approval.
Yep.
Motion to approve TID number 16 in Madison School District by County Clerk Gallagher, seconded by Ms. Gregg from Tech Colleges. Brief discussion. Mike Zimmerman is going to do the redistricting maps with the gerrymandered looking TID here. I would urge an aye vote. All those in favor of TID number 16 in the Madison School District signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and TID is passed. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Madison, for joining us. Appreciate it, for all you do for us out here. Now I'm going to refer back to Greg from Ellers for item number 6A, TID number 17, Verona Area School District.
So TID District number 17, as we mentioned in the opening, kind of consists of the Arrowhead Drive area, the Anton area is kind of a targeted neighborhood planning effort for some redevelopment opportunities. So you see the map here of the proposed boundaries. So we kind of have Verona Road that kind of runs right through kind of the center of the district, and then you have McKee Road to the south. So this has kind of been targeted for some redevelopment opportunities by the city. The project plan had identified several infrastructure improvements that were proposed within the area, then also allowed the development incentive allowances subject to development agreement approval by the Common Council. Similar to TID District number 16, the city kind of did a estimate of the full build-out potential of the district. So it's an illustration only, what's in the project plan. Estimated incremental value based on that full build-out scenario is approximately $113 million of taxable value. That would generate tax increment over the life of the district of approximately $48.6 million. The cash flow model illustrates, potential phasing of those project costs to match the pace of development. and, the projected closure is in 2046. So again, as with all TIF districts, the project plan identifies what is TID eligible. The city's future commitments to expenditures, either public infrastructure or development incentives, will all be subject to common council approval. So that will still be in place even through the creation of the district. So Mike, I don't know if you want to summarize any key
Is
points.
2046, is that normal, that timeframe, or is it, it's 23 years? Is
The
that-
district has a maximum life of 27.
Okay.
So just based off of that full build out potential, that's what we're projecting the closure. As we will review these districts at future JRB meetings to kind of see how things develop going forward. That's just based on that full build out scenario.
Mike, do you want to add anything?
Sure, this one is on the east and west sides of Verona Road. We survived and actually thrived even some businesses here during the 7-year road construction project on Verona Road and the McKee Road improvements. So now we want to come back in to look at full implementation of the neighborhood plans. Anton on the west side, because we've got a lot of the buildings along Verona Road now, their entrance faces the highway, but their orientation and access is really from the west side on Anton Drive there. So we want to work with those property owners, hopefully for maybe some reinvestment, reorientation, or in some cases, maybe complete redevelopment of those sites. And then we've got some vacant land down there north of the Class A office building. That is Benjamin property on number 19. And then we've got some of those interior lots between King James and Capec. That could go a couple of different directions. We've got multiple interested parties just kind of taking a look at it. So we're waiting to kind of see which direction that ultimately goes. Then on the east side of Verona Road, that's our Arrowhead, our redevelopment plan. A lot of our major employers over there, everybody from Playcon to Sertco to Thermo Fisher and Saris. As you know, Saris was acquired within the last year, so we wanted their lot in there kind of as we continue to be in conversation and work with the new owners of that company and facility. Sertco we have in there, there's a potential for them to do a major expansion yet on the north end of their existing buildings. One of the things that is a hurdle for that is there's a power line that runs east and west that would either at a minimum be relocated or maybe undergrounded there to facilitate that potential expansion. And then we've got the larger lot of Thermo Fisher, both in the pink and the blue there. There's a potential user looking at the pink portion, and then that would remain the balance of 31, lot 31 there for Thermo Fisher in the future. And then we've also kind of left open the possibility of, on lot 41 there, yeah, that used to be the old ADM facility and there's still kind of the feed tower there. So some point in time, Playcon may look to redevelop that property into a higher and better use. And then we drop down below McKee Road for those kind of vacant lots and the overflow parking for the theaters there. That is some underutilized capacity of land that would be a prime kind of development opportunity right along McKee Road. And then we've got lot 39 is a vacant building right now. Promega most recently leased that, and that is available. And Joyce and I have been in conversations with multiple tech companies and science companies about that as a possibility.
Mike, the quarry is not in this, right? The
No.
Wingra? Okay. Mike, and then is the northern edge, is the Knights of Columbus building in there or no?
On the west side
Yeah,
of Verona
it's
Road,
in
yes. Yeah, we got Knights of Columbus on the east side too, that's right. I just want to make sure I was talking about the right Knights of Columbus.
Right.
There.
And Mike is right. I mean, the Verona Road construction was a lot, but we don't see a lot of more construction going through there for a while, right?
We should be set for kind of a generation.
You would hope
from
so,
Verona
yes.
Road and McKee Road, we hope.
We hope so.
Yeah, seems to have capacity and everything flows, at this point.
Hey, Pete, you got any questions at all?
No, I don't have any questions. So, but thanks for asking.
No problem. Laura, you good? You tell me if you got any questions.
All good.
Adam?
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, Adam, if you don't mind.
I have a question.
Okay, sure,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like I'm the only one with all the questions. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good. I'm
My first question is, I know that there was there was talk about putting a community center somewhere in this area. I'm not exactly sure where. Would it be in this TID or a different area?
Do you want to, I think Maya, you're referring to there's been conversation about a potential teen center?
Yes.
A teen center, yeah.
Yes, and I'll defer to City Administrator Chad Brecklin on that, because I'm not directly involved in that one.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you for your question. We are currently determining the feasibility of that particular project, and we're working with an outside consultant on community engagement, programming options, and also we're working on an asset map that would identify providers of teen-focused services within that particular area, and whether or not they may be interested in a potential partnership moving forward. So still in the assessment feasibility portion of determining that project's viability.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it would be great as we are looking to do like long-term investments and allowing, 23 years to go by. I know that they're just Madison, Fitchburg, and like the surrounding areas. There's not a whole lot for young people, high schoolers, middle schoolers. So it'd be great to somehow see that. And then my second question is, do we also need to vote on this one? Or is it only Verona that is voting on this? Because I believe there are around this area, MMSD, like maybe interest in this, but I'm not exactly sure. And Bob, maybe you can let me know. But I think I got it okay to vote on this one, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the determination of who the voting member is for the school district is which school district has the most value of property within the district at the time of creation, which in this case would be the Verona.
Right, so Maya, you would not vote on this.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Maya, just thank you for the great question, because the unique part of that is you are so correct, because Madison School District surrounds this area, and as you know, Fitchburg surrounds Allied Drive on three sides. This is south and west of Allied Drive, but my point I'm trying to make is the three sides that surround Allied Drive are Verona schools. So to connect those services between MMSD and the city and Verona schools, if that were such the case, is a little tricky at times trying to figure out that. So you have identified a lot. I know the city elected leaders have put a lot of energy into that. Obviously, Michael at the Boys and Girls Club and Joe Maldonado and our current mayor, I know, are working on that as well. But that's kind of the geographic lay of the land. Does that answer your question, how the voting would work on this?
Yeah, that answered my question. I just wanted to make sure and just be clear that I wasn't voting on this one.
Oh, no, it's all good.
But my
Appreciate the question.
opinion still stands.
Adam, do you mind?
Motion for approval?
Motion for item 6A, a resolution approving the creation of Tax Increment District Number 17, Verona Area School District. A second by Lori. Thank you, Lori. Any discussion at all? All those in favor of the creation of TID District Number 17 in the Verona Area School District for the city of Fitchburg signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, Mike. I will turn it back to you for item 7. Thank you all very much. Item 7, Mike.
I'll turn it over to Greg here. And this is our annual report part of the meeting.
Yes, so annually, the Joint Review Board is required also to be convened to review the status and performance of existing TID districts already in place. So we've organized this part of the agenda to also recognize which TID district is within each school district. So we're going to begin with TID district number 9, which is within the Verona area school district. So I will bring up a report that kind of goes through a detailed cash flow projection for this particular district. So just a little background and history. This district was created back in 2015 as an industrial district. It was amended in 2016 to add territory to amend the project plan expenses. And the district was amended a second time in 2019 to add some additional territory to amend the project plan expenditures again, including projects within a half-mile radius. The expenditure period for this district ends on June 9th of 2030. The incremental value in this TID district as of January 1st of 2023 is $122,605,000. The fund balance in this TID district at the end of 2022 was approximately $6.9 million. The projected closure of the district, just based on existing obligations, is in 2036. So we've included a map that just kind of shows the existing boundary of the district. So all the parcels identified make the cumulative boundary of this particular district. So you have McKee Road to the north, and then areas down to the south. This is Lacey Road down to the south. So this kind of shows the proposed boundary, the existing boundary of this district. With all of the original creation and all of the territory that was added through the subsequent amendments.
Mike, is the big red piece Sub-Zero?
That's the Sub-Zero campus, but now they've also expanded onto Lot 8 there with their Engineering Design Innovation Center. And then we've got on 9 would be the Hop House and Race Day events. And then we've got the Promega folks on Lot 3 with their Chappelle CMC manufacturing facility there. So those don't show up on the map underneath as far as the building footprint.
So would you say that the creation of this TID has helped Sub-Zero and other businesses stay in Fitchburg?
Oh, it's tremendously. Sub-Zero has over 2 million square feet under roof, and there's 2,000 employees that work out of Fitchburg, which they've now branded as their global campus.
Average wage of what, $37 or something like that? Or
Easily, I think, yeah. And then the Promega manufacturing facility, that not only was expanded capacity for them, but they also brought some of their manufacturing back to Wisconsin from California with that facility.
Lot number 10, Mike, there's an old barn in there that I've communicated with city building departments because my buddies, the O'Briens, farm was there, and I've been picking sweet corn all summer, and there's a rundown barn that the O'Briens don't own, but it's gonna be as part of Lot 10, I'm sure will be taken care of, right?
Yes. Yep, and that's a cousin of the Stoner Prairie sweet corn folks.
Yep.
And good news, as of 3 p.m. today, the roundabout is open at Lacey Road and Seminole Highway, so that's kind of breaking news. The road to the west to Fitchburg still, it will be closed and finished out yet, kind of October, early November, but the roundabout is flowing as of 3 p.m. today.
Greg, could you just scroll down just a little bit to the south? Just on the other side of the TID, outside of the TID, Edgewood College has big plans for the city in that area just south of the TID creation on Lacey Road. Quite correct?
Yes, they purchased a 40-acre parcel with plans and a vision to consolidate all of their athletic programs and fields and facilities in one location.
So Lori, when Madison College wants to come out here, just let us know, you know? Greg, keep going, thank you. Do you need approval on this from the?
We have agenda items later that after we go through each one, just accept a resolution noting acceptance of these annual reports.
Any more questions on number 9, as Greg keeps rolling here?
So yeah, just to quickly walk through the cash flow, this shows the history of the incremental value since the district was created in 2015. So again, there's over 122 million of incremental value within the district. This is a tax revenue projection over the remaining life of the district based on that existing incremental value and modest appreciation of 0.5%. And then the cash flow model for this particular district shows the tax increment, the intergovernmental aids received from the state, and then this existing TID district has 2 existing development incentives in place, one for Sub-Zero, one for the Promega facility, and then there's an anticipated incentive yet outstanding for Sub-Zero that's included in the cash flow as well. And then we have kind of the overall cash flow projection for the district with some of the existing development incentives for Supreme Structures and then debt service that was issued for infrastructure projects within the district. So this district's, projected to remain open for its full maximum life at this point in time. As we noted on the cash flow, the Promulga infrastructure bond will be issued in the amount for $4.5 million. We haven't included that in the cash flow yet. That'll be forthcoming. And then the principal balance that we showed outstanding in 2036, that's, will only be payable if the increment is sufficient to cover those costs. That's related to a development incentive, not to city debt that's outstanding. So I'll pause there, allow Misty or Mike to add any additional comments on TID 9.
One thing I'd like to add on this one, if I may, is generally we do try to close our TIDs early. You've seen in our track record, we've always closed TIDs a little bit early, including a couple that we'll talk about later in the meeting. TID 9, while we probably will not be able to close it early, this does reflect the benefit of those pay-go development incentives that we do. So while we can't close it early, the TID is at least only responsible for payments to developers based on the taxes that they pay in. So that was this is just a good example of why that is so important as a policy decision.
We get beat up for that too, doing that way. Unlike other cities, don't do it that way, do they?
Mm-hmm.
Greg, in your professional opinion, do you view this as a healthy TID?
Yes, I think for the reasons Misty mentioned, it's covering the debt service that's outstanding for projects the city financed in 2021, and all the other development incentives are that PAYGO mentioned, as Misty mentioned, that the city's under no obligation to pay the full amount if the project doesn't support itself. So the city's mitigated its risk by using that approach.
Mike, you are hearing a lot of interest in this area of the city, is that correct?
Oh, and then this was really helpful because if we hadn't had this TID in place and the land available, Promega wouldn't have been able to do that project here in Fitchburg. So the timing of it was fortuitous to have that in place. And as you know, when we worked on the North Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan, it was shortly after we finished that plan that we got the call from Sub-Zero to do a major expansion for a project that was going to go to Kentucky that stayed here in the state of Wisconsin.
Any questions on TID number 9, Verona Area School District? Any questions from our fellow taxing municipalities? Seeing none. Greg, anything else on 9?
No.
All right, sir, keep rolling. Item 7B.
Next, we're going to talk about TID District number 4. We've just provided the PE 300 form for this particular district, which is the state required form that has to be filed for this district just because it has kind of reached the end of its life. So Misty, I didn't know if you had any comments you want to add on this district.
Yeah, just an update for everybody. So the 100% audit was completed and emailed to all of you at the beginning of this year. There's still that intersection cost that we're waiting for. That's part of that Sain project that's currently under construction. So we're waiting for that last cost, and then we're hoping to do our final audit this fall with the distributions to all of the overlying jurisdictions end of the year, hopefully. As of now, we're thinking there'll be probably 12 to 13 million of excess increment available to be distributed to all of the jurisdictions based on your proportionate share of the tax bill.
Mike, could you just briefly talk about, this was like the Super Bowl of TIDs in Fitchburg. What was spurred by this TID?
This one originally started with the Fitchburg Technology Campus right across the street from us here where Gordon Flesch, Tri-North,
Right.
Our New Venture Center buildings are located. Then it was amended to bring in the Agora complex on the Promega campus.
Where the farmer's market is and all that stuff.
Yes, and then we came back over here and created the Fitchburg Tech Campus Phase 2, now called the Tech Lands. And then eventually we connected it over to Highway 14 during a recession that we were in there to finance the Highway 14 Lacey Road interchange. So this has not only done a lot of heavy lifting from an infrastructure standpoint with street, sewer, and water, but also for science and technology companies and a lot of our major employers in the area. And then it really opened up that uptown land along Highway 14 that hopefully we see some continued growth and development along that whole corridor. So a very successful TID district, and it's going to live on because, again, that provided us with a significant amount of money that we put in our TID for Housing Fund. So it's going to allow us to do some really good things on the housing front as well.
When Mike writes his autobiography, he's gonna have a chapter on TID 4, of what it did for the city. So thank you for all you did, and thank you, Greg. Keep pushing on item 10, or number 10.
And I would just say thank you to all of our private sector
Yes,
partners
for
for
being
their
patient.
investments within the TID district, as well.
And the taxing municipalities for staying with
Yes.
us and being patient.
Yep,
Thank you.
and allowing us to amend it, because sometimes it's not always easy when, you have the opportunity for closure and we kind of come and ask for amending it to continue on and do some great things. So we appreciate your support and patience, and it's been a win-win all the way around for us at the end here.
Question from Andy from Oregon.
So it sounds like this is a closing down, is that what I heard at one point in time? And, okay, and that, then there would be a portion of money that would go back to several school districts, right? Because this one goes over at least Madison and Oregon, correct?
Correct. So it has been officially closed. We just haven't done that final audit because we have that last cost that we're waiting for. And so, it'll go the proportionate share to all of the overlying jurisdictions. So it's county, MATC, the city, and then both school districts that you mentioned.
And what, do you know the EAV increment that will be coming back on as of this year, right?
So for the tax bills that we just, sent out last December that we collected beginning of this year, that money is what went to that TID for housing that Mike has been talking about. So that money went there. And then the increment that's coming on, I almost have it open. I'll have it shortly.
Yeah, just while we're trying to calculate tax rates and all those types of things, it's just good to know.
Yes.
What.
Yeah, so it was 242 million was last year increment, for the last year that it existed.
Was the EAV increment, that's between Oregon and Madison, right?
Correct. Yep.
You know the breakdown?
You know what I do? So it was 192 million for Madison. And then the difference, about 50 million for Oregon.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you to you, Andy. I remember your former superintendent, Brian. You guys hung in there with us on TID 4 too, so thank you for that. Mike, anything else on this one? No. That should go in the Hall of Fame, that one. Keep going, sir.
Next is TID District number 10. We discussed this extensively during the recent amendment that you just approved. So we provided, the PE 300 form that just kind of shows the revenue and expense detail for this particular TIP district. So, we didn't provide another cash flow report because that was already included in the project plan amendment that you just approved. So this is just giving you the required form for TID District number 10, but nothing new to add from what we just discussed related to the amendment.
In your professional opinion, prior to us adding to what we did today's action, this was a very healthy TID, and this makes sense to.
Yeah, it's a healthy TID. I mean, I think the city's made a lot of investment in terms of the district paid for portions of the Fish Hatchery Road reconstruction were TID eligible expenses. So the city's continuing to generate increment to kind of support those project costs. So, this district takes some time, as most redevelopment districts do, but I mean, it's on its way.
And stay tuned for development projects coming forward. We're in discussions on multiple projects within the district.
Any questions on 10? All right, keep going, number 12.
So 12, we provide a little more detail since this is a more active TID district. So this district was created back in 2018 as an industrial district. The expenditure period for this district ends in 2033. Its final year of increment collection is 2039. The incremental value in this district as of January 1 of 2023 was 94.9 million. The fund balance at the end of 2022 is approximately $793,000. Based on the projected cash flow of the district, based on current obligations, the district's projected to close in 2033, but subject to additional costs or development within the district.
Just a quick map there, folks. Mike, real briefly, where is this?
Sure, this is in the heart of the Fitchburg Center Promega campus. There you can see along East Sherrill Parkway there, 14C is the Feynman Center, and the one that doesn't show up on the map is on 14D. That's their new Kornberg Research and Development facility, one of the largest valued building permit values in Fitchburg's history at that site. And what's great now is not only is Promega investing in new facilities, but now they're going back in where 14 kind of B is, their original Promega facility, and then on number 1, the BTC, they're reinvesting in some of their older existing facilities with some significant building permit value.
And just a Grace would be to the right of number 1, correct, Mike?
Yes.
A Grace is to the right.
Yeah.
And Swan Creek would be to the further to the east, Madison Schools. Any questions on this one at all?
So just a quick go through the cash flow projection. This just shows the history since the TID was created, kind of the gradual buildup of the almost 95 million of incremental value. So if that value holds and there's modest appreciation, we're projecting over the life of the district, this would generate about a little over 33 million of tax increment revenue. So in terms of the cash flow projection, really the only major expense that's really been committed to by this district has been a development incentive that is outstanding. So again, that's the same pay-as-you-go feature that the city typically uses for its development incentives. It's paid directly from increment generated by the project. If that doesn't support the full amount of the incentive, the city is under no obligation to make up the difference. If no other project costs are incurred within this district at the moment, it's projected to close in 2033.
Is there interest out there, Mike, in this?
Primarily, it's Promega driven,
Okay.
because they are the landowner of the vacant land.
It's always a good sign when they're involved.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? Great. Anything else on this one?
Nothing further on this.
Can I just see-
Yes, please.
Just can I see the again, please, just real quick?
The map you want to see?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item number 15, Madison Schools. Or TID number 15, I'm sorry.
So this TID district was formerly exclusively within the town of Madison. The city absorbed this TIF district once that area was brought into the city. So Misty, I'll let you kind of provide the update on this district.
Yeah, so this is another one where it has been closed at this point. So we did the affordable housing extension, which will be the tax bills that come out this coming December, which will put the money into the affordable housing fund that Mike's talked about briefly. And then it will roll off after that. I expect there'll be a small amount of cash available for distribution, which won't happen until probably early to mid 2024. When we got this TID from the town, it was basically at zero. So the only money that the city had been accumulating within this TID is just this last year. And that was used to pay off that one last year revenue bond and then a couple of administrative. So good to kind of get this one off the books. And then that's why the TID 16 that you guys just approved was created in a lot of that same area to get the town TID model kind of closed and start with the city model.
Any questions? As I mentioned the previous meeting, this bill was created, this TID was created as a change in state law. So there was a big bill signing 20-some years ago. Because there was a city that was inheriting a township through an agreement, they had to create a TID. So anyway, made a little state history, this one did. All right, any other questions for Madison School District TIDs from item 7B, 4, 10, 12, and 15? Anything else on those? All right, thank you. Item 7C, Oregon School District, tax increment number 11 and 13.
So TID district number 11 was created back in 2018. The original development proposal within that district didn't come to fruition. The city has kept the development open. It's had really modest financial activity within this district. It still remains open for potential development opportunities. So Misty or Mike, if you had anything you want to add on this one.
Yeah, we're still just kind of in a holding pattern. We do have a small incremental value this year, and we're still waiting for that project to hopefully come through, or else we will talk about closing this TID.
I'll just add to that this is the clean fill site between Highway 14 and the Fossite property. And we still have an interested development partner. It's taken longer than we would have anticipated, but hopefully they're still going to proceed with the development. They're working with the property owner right now. The development entity is Royal Capital out of Milwaukee. And it would be a kind of a mixed-use development with significant multifamily rental and also some stacked flat housing, and then about 37,000 square feet of commercial is kind of what they envision in their development plan. So we are anxious to see them come forward and kind of get this jump started to do the reclamation of that clean fill site.
Thank you. Any questions, Andy, at all on your end from the school district? Okay. Number 13.
So this particular district, we provided a kind of a more detailed report since there's a little more activity. So TID district number 13 was created back in 2018 as a mixed-use district. The district was amended in 2020 to add territory and modify the project costs. The expenditure period ends in 2033. The final year of increment collection is 2039. The current incremental value as of January 1 of 2023 is $29,504,900. The fund balance in this district at the end of 2022 is approximately $433,000. Based on the current cash flow projection for this district, subject to, if no other costs are incurred, projects the district would close in 2032. So in terms of the map of this particular district, just to kind of orient you to the general boundaries, we've got East Sherrill Parkway in the center, Green Marketplace, and then Lacey Road, and then Highway 14 over on the eastern edge of the boundary for this particular district. In terms of the financial performance, this chart shows the gradual growth in the incremental value since its creation in 2018. In terms of the future increment that's collected from this district based on that incremental value and modest appreciation, projecting the district would generate just shy of $9.7 million over its remaining life. The cash flow projection for this particular district, we have the increment as the primary revenue stream. There's an existing development incentive outstanding for $2.1 million for Phoenix Industries, and then there were infrastructure costs financed by the city in 2021. So again, if there were no other project costs incurred within this district, based on those existing obligations, we're projecting that those could be satisfied by year 2032.
Mike, this TID has led to some corporate development here, right?
Our first corporate user, Phoenix's division of Shine, is located there in Neutron Imaging Company. It's got 2 different facilities over there with room for expansion.
How many employees roughly?
They're over 100, I think 110 with a significant average wages, a lot of very smart engineering people from the UW and other areas. And then this is an area where UW Health and Meritor own some significant land, lots 5, 4, and kind of 2 and 3 in there as well. So we're hoping that
They bought that years ago, didn't they?
when we put the interchange in.
Meritor did, yeah.
Yeah, so we're hoping that we see some initial development concepts come forward from them. The most recent activity, lot 27 there at East Sherrill and Sain Road. Quick Trip opened to rave reviews last year, and that's kind of serving as the little corner grocery store. That's their new 9,000 square foot C-store prototype. And then the latest construction activity is on lot 23, just north of East Sherrill Parkway. That's going to be called the Arlo mixed-use building. There's 57 apartments, and then there's going to be 2,300 square feet of commercial. And that's going to be our first kind of watering hole cocktail lounge that'll come to the neighborhood. And then they're going to have a little outdoor kind of seating and stage area. and they've incorporated where they would have like a docking area for food trucks that would come out there as well. So it's gonna kind of help activate the site a little bit in the neighborhood in that area. Our hope is we're on the east side of Highway 14 outside of this map. The Terra Vista neighborhood around the Forest Edge Elementary School for the Oregon School District is going gangbusters over there with housing starts and construction of multifamily over there, that we're hoping we start to kind of fill in that trade lane in kind of a 1 mile and 3 mile, and that will start to result in maybe some other commercial businesses and establishments along this Highway 14.
And this location's only 1.5 miles south of the Beltline, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. And from this spot, if you put a dot down on the interchange, within a 10-mile radius, you reach 70% of Dane County's population as far as the reach. So you can't beat kind of that central location and accessibility to this neighborhood. So we just have to kind of continue to organically fill it in. A significant multifamily growth. We'd like to see the land north outside of the TID district that's still owned in the original families still own that property. We'd like to see hopefully a development entity get control of that land and start to make some other things happen, because that could bring us some other significant kind of small lot single family that you see along Sain Road and Uptown Crossing and Uptown Village.
Great view of the Capitol from up there too.
Mm-hmm.
Any further comments on this one, Greg?
Not on this. My only final comment is you'll notice on the agenda, there's no reference to TID District number 14. That was created last year by the city, is not subject to annual reporting this year. So that is why that is not referenced on the agenda. That concludes my comments.
Any comments before we go to the voting action here? Any other comments on item 7? Let's flip the page in this agenda to item 8A, and I'd like to take these each one by one here. Just so we have what are we doing in this action here, Mike, on number 8? We're just approving these?
It's just a resolution acknowledging that we have satisfied the annual meeting requirement, and the JRB has received all the required forms and documentation for the annual meeting.
Do you want one motion for all 3 or 3 separate ones?
No, 3 separate ones, because we got 3 different school districts.
Adam, if you wouldn't mind going on 8A.
Motion to approve 8A.
Laura, you okay seconding? Seconded by the Tech College, approve tax increment district number 9, Verona Area School District, to file the annual report in compliance with annual meeting required. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Item 8B, Adam.
Motion approval 8B, Madison Metropolitan School District.
I'll second.
Seconded by the Tech College. This is a motion to approve and second tax increment districts number 4, 10, 12, and 15 in the Madison School District, as explained by Ellers, Greg Johnson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 8C, Mr. Clerk.
Motion to approve 8C for Oregon School District.
Seconded by the Tech College.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We are passed. Thank you. Item number 9A, before we adjourn. Misty, is there any update you want to provide from the city's treasurer before we meet again, or no? Nothing?
Only thing I'd like to say is thank you to Greg for all of their help with all of these different reporting requirements you have to do, the TID creations, all that. It's a huge lift on behalf of staff, especially Mike and Joyce, but also Ellers for their assistance. So
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's a team effort.
Mike, when will this committee meet again? Is it subject to the call of the city, or how does it work?
It would be the annual report.
It would be the annual
for next
report
year.
unless the city decides to have any TID creations or TID amendments. Otherwise, we will convene around a year from now.
Well, I'll miss you all, and thank you all very much, Mr. Clerk. And I have a motion to adjourn, or review. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to kind of thank everybody as well. Not only our taxing entity partners for your support. We've done a lot of great things with the TIDs that they highlighted that were closed recently, and now the new ones we can get to work and hopefully start working on a lot of great projects that benefit. All three of the TID districts approved today align with our Healthy Neighborhoods initiative, where we're going back in and reinvesting and revitalizing some of those older neighborhoods in Fitchburg that developed when we were still a town in a lot of cases there. So we really appreciate your support. We're kind of new to the redevelopment and revitalization, and so we're learning as we go along, and appreciate your collaboration and partnership on that. And then with the districts, it's a lot of work to create just one, but to do three at a time. Kudos across all city departments, finance, public works, planning, assessing, GIS, economic development, clerk's department. There's a whole host of work that's done behind the scenes, and then we couldn't have a better team with our partners at Ellers, with Greg and Paula and Angie and everybody that's involved with that. They kept us on task in the punch list and getting all those items, the I's dotted and the T's crossed and all the statutory requirements. And again, thanks to the Joint Review Board members for your time and efforts.
So real quick, Maya and Andy, when Misty cuts those checks from TID 4, they're gonna come with a publisher clearinghouse check to the school board meeting, so get them on the agenda. With that, Adam.
Motion.
They might be stuck in a long meeting for us.
You guys might vote it down. I'm just teasing. Go ahead, Adam. Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjournment.
Seconded by Tech College. Lori, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Aye.
Thank you.